Hi, I'm Beau Cranston, and the game I chose to do for the Mathematics of Gaming final project is poker. So this is my optimal poker bot strategy. The strategy will be a mix of using game theory as well as probability to maximize the percentage of wins that my poker bot gets. Okay, so the strategy that I'm going to employ uh, depends on many factors. Some of those factors will be calculating the odds of winning or moving to a better hand, uh, a payoff matrix that takes into account the current pot, what the player has already paid, the probability of winning, and the additional possible payoff/loss of a player's next decision. So that's going to be where the game theory comes in, and you'll be able to see Nash equilibrium, etc., etc. There's going to be a series of Markov charts that help determine the probability of obtaining a hand at a certain state, and it's going to contain a set of properties that determine the playstyle approach that the bot will take, including bluff rate, raise multiplier, fold rate, check/minimum call threshold, the raise, and also the raise threshold. Monte Carlo simulations will help determine the optimal values for these properties. So when we adjust these properties, it will make the bot more likely to be aggressive or more likely to be passive. So we'll see what happens when we tweak those values during coding time. So the bot's going to keep track of all the opponent's decisions by counting how many times that opponent bluffs. A bluff is basically if the chance of the opponent winning with their current hand is below 20%, then and they play that hand anyways, then that would be considered a bluff. So it's going to be pretty challenging to gather accurate information on that early in the game, but maybe as the game goes on, it will get better at understanding, oh, maybe they'll bluff this time. Okay, so before I mention that, the bot is going to have a set of properties that it follows that determines its playstyle. So let's give definitions to those properties. So the check/call threshold is the minimum % chance of winning that the bot needs to have in order to rationally decide to keep playing. So if it only has a 20% minimum chance of winning for it to keep going, that would be a pretty aggressive bot, because even though it doesn't think it's going to win, it will really try to. So we have the raise threshold. So that's the minimum % chance of winning that the bot needs in order to actually raise or bet. So if someone goes all in, like what is my % chance of winning when that happens? If it's below that threshold, I will not go all in as well. So there's also going to be the raise multiplier. When my bot is feeling confident and it wants to raise, how much will it raise by? Will it raise by a factor of 2 each round? So maybe it'll go 2, then 4, then 8, and 16, or maybe by another factor. The fold rate is the % chance of upgrading the hand to a better one. If it's lower than the specified percentage on the opening turn, the bot will fold. So if I have like a 3 and a 2, and in the river there's no 3s or 2s, and there's no possibility for a straight, then that's a fold. There's no way the bot will think it's rational to play that hand. And then finally we have the bluff rate. So that's the % chance that the bot will raise while the bot has a less than 20% chance of winning. So every single time I have an opportunity to raise or even call, and my chance of winning is below 20%, and my bot does it anyway, that is my bot performing a bluff. So the bluff rate is how often that will happen. So poker is a game of incomplete information, so playing optimally is basically impossible. But what we can do is calculate the probabilities of possible outcomes and try to get as close as we can. So the payoff matrix I was talking about earlier we'll see the monetary payoffs as positive values if it feels that it's likely to win, or negative values if it feels like it's not very likely to win. So for example, if I only have a 20% chance of winning, raising would be a bad decision. So it takes that into account as its payoff value. So I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how my payoff matrix is going to be built out using probability as well as game theory. Okay, so this is all about the chance we have to win the pot, right? So let's say the river is full, and we got 7, 7, 5, Jack, and 2. Okay, cool. So my hand is an 8 and 7. We don't know the opponent's hands. But we can calculate our the probability that we will win based off of calculating the probabilities of every possible hand that could beat my current hand. So I have a table here, so a full house with 3 jacks and 2 sevens. If maybe he has the other 7 and then another jack, that would also be a full house. And we just grab all of these probabilities, and we can just add them up here. So the equation is the sum of the chance an opponent has a better hand times the number of players. So the reason why we multiply by the number of players is because any given player can actually have any of these hands. So if we're playing with 4 players, we're going to multiply by 4. So the percent chance we have of losing is 8.8. So with that, we have our chance to win, which is 91. And this is just an example, right? So let's say the current pot is 40, and the current call is 20. And our call/check threshold is 50, and our raise threshold is 75. So these are percentages. So 91, is a greater percentage than these. So in this situation, my bot will say that it makes sense to raise. And for the other player, like my bot considers all the other players to only have a 10% chance of winning, or sorry, a 9% chance of winning in this situation. So if we go to fold, the value is 0 because we don't actually gain anything from folding. So the fold is 0, 0. Yeah, fold is 0, 0. The payoff value is plus or minus 1 multiplied by the total gain times the percentage of winning. So if the current pot is 20 and the current call, or if the current pot is 40 and the current call is 20, so that would be a gain of 60. So since this only has about a 10% chance of winning, player 2 would actually have a minus 6 payoff score, because it would be 60 times 0.1 times -1. So that would be a bad move to call or raise. And then for the bot that has a high chance of winning, it actually makes more sense to either call a minimum, so that you get a 54 as your payoff value, or you just get x times 0.91 because x can be anything that's more than 60. So that's an even better payoff value, even though technically I don't show it here. But as you can see, this is also technically the Nash equilibrium, because it is in both parties' best interest to, if player 1 raises and player 2 folds, this is the best possible outcome. So we talked about what the bot can do when it thinks it's going to win and when it thinks it's going to lose, but we also need to take into account is knowing when it's going to fold. So if the bot has basically no chance to move up, and the hand is not even good in the first place, so if it has nothing and its chance to move up is very, very slim, then the bot should fold. So I'll give you another demonstration to show you what I'm talking about. So a Markov chart is very good at showing this, right? So we have a pair, and we can see the percent chance we have of moving up. So this row right here is when the river has 3 cards, and then the river adds a card. That's why it's at a 46, because there are 6 cards that we currently know of, 2 in our hand, 4 in the river, and then this is when there are all 5 cards in the river. So in this situation, we know that there's a 24% chance to improve, because it can go to 2 pairs, or it can go to 3 of a kind. So a pair is a pretty good starting point, and that's going to segue us into our next topic, which is knowing the value of a hand in the first place. Okay, so as we know, the value of a hand in poker is mostly based on the rank that it's in. So the ranks are a high card, a pair, 2 pairs, 3 of a kind, straight flush, full house, 4 of a kind, straight flush, and a royal flush. So these ranks make it quite easy to develop a weighting system based on the rank that you have. So looking at this, you can see the probability of getting each rank, and it's assigned in order. So looking at this, it inspired me to make a weighting system on my own with the same sort of ranking system from high card to royal flush. So right here, these are the card values. So it goes from 2 to 14 because aces are high in the game of poker. And here we're actually we have rank weights. So a high card has a rank weight of 0, a pair 100, 2 pairs 200, 3 of a kind 300 straight 400, and so on. So the point of these ranks is to separate out the sum of the cards we have. Because the highest value is 14, the highest value of a card that you can or of a hand that you can have is 14 times 4 plus 13, which ends up being 69. So I wanted to keep the calculations consistent, so I incremented them by 100 each time. So the equation of a hand's value is the rank plus the sum of the cards. So for example, if I have a 3 of a kind of, let's say, 8s, it would be 300 plus the 3 8s, which is 324, and then plus the whatever the other 2 cards are. So that's it for everything that references the course content. But there's a couple more things I wanted to go over. So the first thing is playing for position. So basically what I'm saying here is that as my poker bot is going to know what position it's in. If it's close to last place, everyone else before it gets to go before my bot, meaning I know what they have already did, so I have an advantage. So my bot is going to use that advantage and play more aggressively if my bot is close to being the last person to play. And if I'm one of the first people to play, I'm going to be playing more passively. And as I said before, the way I'm going to adjust passiveness or aggressiveness is based on those properties that were mentioned earlier. So I also wanted to talk about pot odds. So if I have a specific chance of winning, is it always worth going for if the earning is not that good? And you know, the answer is not always, because if I have a 25% chance of getting a flush on the next river card, but I have to pay $15 and the pot is only worth 30, I'm taking a 4-to-1 risk when the payout is only $15 in net earnings. That's not really worth. The bot will know to only take risk when the payoff it receives is worth the risk it's taking. to understand what the optimal value is will require lots of testing. So I guess I'll have to find out. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching.